Tony Gonsolin, forearm strain. He's not worried. He says he's going to be back on September 10th. He tried to pitch through it. If his postseason, he honestly could have probably pitched through it. It sounds like, but blessing in disguise. What do you think? I mean, the writing's been on the wall about the heavy workload. He's thrown a lot of innings. He's thrown more than he ever has as a big leaguer. It's just a blessing.
I would say it's a blessing if obviously nothing comes out of it. I mean, you talk about a forearm injury. We know that sometimes that can be the precursor too. But I think that the reason why it's a topic of conversation is because everyone talks about the 128 plus innings, and that is a new career high for Tony Gonsolin. If this was just a normal year, no one would be saying anything about that. That's the only reason why this is a topic, is because we've seen, I think there's a little bit of PTSD with some of these Dodger fans because it has been an episode of Squid Game at times with guys just going down and the injury bug just sinks his teeth into this team, it feels like. But Tony Gonsolin is a guy who I feel, like I say, he's a drive line guy. You see him before the game.
Yeah.
Like he's got the crazy ball and he's like doing this and like he's got crazy techniques.
Somebody cut that, by the way. Let's get that.
No, it made a little gif. But I do think he's built up to withstand this. And you talk about he's been effective even with the velocity dip, right? Yeah. So he's learned how to pitch this season and not just be a guy that goes out there and tries to, throw his hardest fastball and this and that. You're seeing the curveball, the split change bottom of the zone. He's been fantastic. I think to answer your question, I do think this is a blessing. I truly do. I think that Tony Gonsolin in July had an ERA over 4, and then he really figured it back out. Locked it back in. So you get him in a spot where he's feeling healthy. And I know there's not a phantom IL stint or anything like that. I just don't think it's that serious. And the reality is, like I said earlier, they are 1 trillion games over 500. There is no reason to push anyone. There just is no reason to push anyone.
Absolutely no reason to. Yeah. And that's the next question I have is like, when do they start? When should they start easing back on workloads? And will they? It feels like with the words Dave is saying, what is it now? Magic number is 14, 15, 14, somewhere in that pocket. As soon as, they've already said it about Freddie Freeman, he's going to get a day off the second they clinch the division. And I think they're going to get a good number of days off unless, and that's, again, you start to worry about chasing the numbers because they're trying to lead the league in hits. They're trying to, potentially overtake Paul Goldschmidt in the MVP race or in the batting average race. And they're there. They're probably potentially not going to pass him, but you worry about chasing numbers against what is more important. That is that ring.
Yeah, I think to me, it's a case-by-case thing. You mentioned Freddie Freeman. This guy loves to play. Even spring training, you couldn't keep him off the field. They're going to have to hire security to just rip him off the field. They're going to have to put barbed wire around first base just so he can't play because he loves to go out there and play. But I do think that you take a case-by-case and you really assess where each guy is at, where can a guy benefit from playing, from getting the reps, like a Chris Taylor or Cody Bellinger, to try to play their way into a hot streak leading into the postseason. Whereas Mookie Betts, I thought it was pretty interesting yesterday. They make this big thing about how he wins Player of the Week and how he was having, it was Mookie Miami, getting splashed all over the face, right? And like, you didn't have to play Monday, and then you see him out there in right field, and if he gets injured, this chat's blowing up, right? Doc, why'd you play me? He tweaked a hammy, he pulled something. So I do think that with the veteran guys, you definitely have to give them a breather. I think that this team, you don't want to go into the postseason on a funk or on a losing skid or anything like that. And I do think, look, they're going to downplay this, no question. But if they just continue to win and that 117 games is within reach, you almost feel like you owe it to yourself to make a run at history. But like you said, that they can't take that bait. They cannot take that bait. And they think this year the ultimate prize is the only goal. And I do think that, to answer your question, when is it time? I think that we saw it today. It was time today. So I think, you just got to get guys fresh because they learned from last season that it doesn't matter what you do in the regular season if you don't have enough tread on the tires for the stretch run.
Rosters are going to be expanding in less than 2 days by the time you're listening to this, potentially. Granted, you're only adding one position player who we will name in a second. It's already out there. But you get opportunity to mix some things up. Maybe they do lose some games, but if they're losing some games in September with the obvious B squad out there, I'm okay with it. Fans aren't going to be okay with it. But as long as we're paying attention and watching and knowing who's in there and knowing who, Freddie's still getting his at-bats, Trey's still getting their at-bats, his at-bats when he needs them, staying fresh and ready. I don't think they're going to, sit them 10 games or whatever. We're talking 2 games. I mean, Freddie is a dude who loves to play. And Trey is in a platform year and wants to stay out there. On the other hand, he wants to stay healthy as well. Moving on, though, if we're talking about being healthy, Swollen Sausage a little bit ago sent us another $2 super chat saying season might come down to rematch versus Kershaw versus Soto. Perfect segue. Clayton Kershaw is coming back. He is going to be starting against the Mets in Queens on Thursday. You got to be excited about this. He's chomping at the bit. He even... over Friday or whenever it was over the weekend, I think it was on Thursday actually, he said, honestly, I could have been pitching already. I'm just waiting for them to tell me I can go out there. He's ready. He's going to be fine. He doesn't want to be doing these stupid side sessions, and there's nothing he's going to gain from going down and doing a minor league rehab assignment. He's ready. Go up and throw him against the best. Don't expect 5 or 6 innings out of him, even if he wants it. Just let him go out there and play. But exciting times, because perfect time. You lose Tony G. You got to get the guy back. You got to get your ace back, Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, absolutely. And after what we saw last season, he dealt with that injury after the start against Washington, then comes back, gets injured. In the third to the last game of the season, there was so much made about him taking the ball off the mound with him into the dugout. People were thinking, is that it with Kershaw in a Dodger jersey? So I think seeing him come back and looking healthy, the fact that it was a back injury, not an arm issue, if he can come back and be effective, look, he's ready to go. He pitched 4 simulated innings on Saturday. And I like the fact that, hey, he gets the Clayton Kershaw treatment. He's like, hey, I'm King Kersh. I'm a walking Hall of Famer. You don't need to give me a rehab start, okay, just to boost the attendance for, the Quakes or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I think the fact that, look, and also, too, you don't have to have him travel, too, which is good.
That was a big thing he mentioned as well,
the travel with his back. So I think that's a big thing.
I really want them just to build like a cryostasis chamber for him wherever they need to travel. Like, put him in a tube, bubble wrap the shit out of that tube, keep Kershaw's back alive. Hashtag free Kershaw's back by keeping it alive.
Could change the game, man. Look, the reality with Kersh, too, look at his numbers this year: 2.64 ERA, 2.73 FIP, not walking anyone, pristine 4.5 walks, 4.5 walk percentage. But look, the reality with Kershaw is if he has the command, he keeps it low, live low, live long, like my man, the D-Train says. Hey, D-Train, here's your invite to the show. Don Trell, holler at me.
Make it happen already. We're ready.
Hey, he's celery. Let's get it popping here.
New Blue Haven. Who dis?
Yeah, exactly. D-Train. Hey, the invitation is out. Okay, but yeah, I think that look, he has a feel for that slider. I mean, he's on. I mean, he's a guy who can still go out there and be effective.
I trust Clayton Kershaw with my life, provided it is not October baseball.